Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. We're back on Michael's 1993 Touring. Today, I think we're going to focus on the brakes. We need to get these rotors off, out to the shop to be ground, and then once we have them back in a couple of days, we'll go ahead and finish the job. So, let's get started. Now, we saw during the inspection that these were kind of like a record. And before I send these out to be ground, I already checked this, but I'll do it again for your guys' sake. These rotors, let's use a digital caliper. These rotors from the factory new, something about 22 millimeter. Go ahead, lock that up. These are just over 20. So there's enough material here to go ahead and grind these. We'll go ahead and get them off the car. It's kind of cool. The screw heads are not all messed up, which they commonly are, but we're still going to want to use a little impact driver on that. I'll show you guys here in a minute. Now, there are a ton of videos about brakes out there. I don't need to humor you guys on how to do this. It's pretty simple. I've got the clips off just so that it's easier to pull this caliper down and support it. We're going to take a 17, and if I can do this blind, I'm going to take these caliper bolts off. They're nice and tight, which is nice. Nothing worse than working on brakes and finding a loose caliper bolt. I don't know if this will ever help anyone, but the bolt here with the extra washer goes on the bottom. I've seen that swapped. Alright, just like that. Got the caliper out of the way. I am going to be leaving this for a couple days, so I'm going to go ahead and grab a bungee cord and just support it here so it's not hanging off this brake line. These brake lines are made to hold a lot of pressure, but I just don't want to put any unnecessary force on them. So now that the caliper's out of the way, let's go ahead and get the rotor off of here. Okay, the rotor's really easy to get off of here. Go ahead and grab your favorite unnecessarily oversized hammer. And let me see if I can get this to focus a little better. Maybe. We'll find out. I'm just using a impact driver with a number 3 Phillips on it. Oh, not even needed. Look at that. How's this one? Alright. Not bad. I've had these things fight me way worse than that. Didn't even stick. That's amazing. Well, they look factory. It looks like 20 millimeter is our minimum thickness. So we'll get a better measurement on these when we get them out to be ground, but they just really need to be lightly kissed. So I think we'll be just fine. Hey, Future Mark here checking in really quick. I'm sure someone noticed my mic kind of died off there. Well, it turns out something happened to my audio. I'm not sure what, but for a good portion of the rest of this, it's just gone. It either corrupted or it's so quiet that you just can't hear it. So I'm going to try to do some voiceover to make up for it until we get back to where there's some sound available. So I've gone ahead and taken the rotors off and grabbed a digital caliper to check the measurements again. These actually measured out closer to around 21.5, which means these were probably fairly recent rotors, at least in Michael's ownership. There's plenty of material to grind, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and take them over to Rob's, and we'll get them media blasted and prepped for grinding. It shouldn't take too long, and if he has time, I'll go ahead and do the work myself, so he doesn't have to. Hopefully, we'll only get to grind these front rotors. The rears look pretty recent, but we'll see what happens when we get there. And I should have these back today, which is ahead of schedule, which is pretty awesome. Well, guys, that was a quick trip to Rob's. He had time to let me go ahead and hop on his flywheel grinder, get these media blasted. Now, they were in a lot worse shape than I originally thought. I grabbed the caliper when I got home, and you saw that half moon appear during grinding. We had to take almost 1.5 millimeters off of these rotors, these front rotors, to clean them up. And, you know, that's a lot of material. They're kind of at the end of their service life now. They'll need to be replaced next time. But they look beautiful. And to protect that, I'm going to go ahead and hit them with some Vht Caliper Paint. It's high temp, you know, brake cleaner resistant, and it's going to stop any flash rusting, which is really all I want to do for these rotors. So let's go ahead and get a quick coat on these and get them back on the car. While the rotors dry, I'm going to go ahead and put some anti-seize just around the center of these hubs. They're actually in really nice shape. There's not a lot of corrosion on them, but this anti-seize will just really help prevent those rotors from sticking in the future. And, you know, even though I hope this car ends up in a garage the rest of its life, it's just some cheap insurance that I can do to ensure that they don't stick and don't give the next guy any problems. So it only takes a couple of minutes to coat each one, and I'm trying to stay away from the lugs and just get those a little bit into those holes to retain the front rotors, but on the rear we don't have to worry about that. Well guys, now that we've got the rotors back on here, you can see there's just a little bit of overspray. That'll come right off, but you know, I'm not worried about it for this case. I did go ahead and come back and torque these to 60 foot-pounds in the front, 40 in the rear. It's really important to not mess around with brakes. You know, if you end up with a loose caliper, it screws up your wheel. It can, it can screw up your wheel. It can do a whole bunch of damage. So I'm still waiting for the brake pads, but we're going to go ahead, bleed this system with the factory pads in it. And when I get those in, we'll go ahead and just quickly toss them in. But hopefully I'll have some help here soon. We can get everything bled and put back together so this thing can get outside and head to the detailer. So let's get back into it.
Okay, pump the clutch and then hold. Okay, repeat. Okay, go ahead and hold it.
Okay, with the brakes and the clutch bled, I'm going to take care of one more thing, and we're going to wrap this up. years ago, before I found that you could get new OEM style replacements, I would use these kind of cheap, I guess they're marine style terminals. They work fine, but I just prefer the stock look. Okay guys, so brake pads finally showed up. I went ahead and just went with a nice set of like OEM plus style ceramic, low dust, you know, for the rotors that are on here and how stock this car is. It's the best option for this use case. So we'll save those hawks for another project another day. Now, I'm not going to walk you through putting pads into an FD. It's super simple. There's just 2 pins that come out. So a little locking clip right here. The short spring goes on top. Long spring goes on the bottom. The stock pads that came out of here were actually in really good condition. And I might have said this before, but you know, I might have been the one who installed them, judging by the copper anti-seize paste. But they are just grooved to match those, well, to match these rotors pre-grinding. And I know that I've heard of people like taking these on a flat surface and some sandpaper and knocking the grooves down. I just didn't want to do that for this car. That's not something I feel comfortable doing. I'd rather just put some new pads on, given how inexpensive they are. But, you know, given that it took me almost a month plus to get brake pads, I mean, it might have been an option. But I think the last thing I'm going to do, and since this took so long, I think I will go ahead and just put a quick coat of caliper paint on here, probably just some OEM silver to clean this up. I'm not going to take care of that today as part of this episode, but it is something that I will get taken care of. Now, hopefully, the rest of this overspray will wear off, and I'm sure someone's going to give me grief about it. But that should wrap up the brake episode. It's been a long saga, excuse me, with some problems, some delays, some audio issues, but really, these are ready to hit the road. I don't know why that sounds funny to me. I guess it's just because it's been a long day. But I think we'll wrap it up here. With everything else mechanically kind of done on this car, I can finally get this thing detailed. It's already kind of mid-progress, if you can tell by the shiny background here. So we'll go ahead, get this detailed, get it listed for sale here soon, and we'll be on to the next project. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.